emotion for making those decisions. This is something that's got to change. This is ridiculous. And I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm standing outside of the Veterans Affairs Center in Austin, Texas. This will be the proving ground for IBM's brand new technology, Watson. Now, what that is a supercomputer that will have all of your medical records, admin records, and many other things downloaded into it. They want to use this machine to replace the doctors that have had death panels going on at the VA for years now. Newly released documents expose more explicitly the details of IBM's pivotal role in the Holocaust. All 6 phases: identification, expulsion from society, confiscation, ghettoization, deportation, and even extermination. Moreover, the documents portray with crystal clarity the personal involvement and micromanagement of IBM President Thomas J. Watson and the company's co-planning and co-organizing of Hitler's campaign to destroy the Jews. Why is the Department of Veterans Affairs awarding IBM with a large contract to bring in Watson, a new technology that will be used to replace doctors in an already failing VA health system? Why are they naming it after Thomas J. Watson, the founder and president of IBM? Did you know this man was responsible for making the machines that created punch cards with a coding system to label and eventually kill thousands of Jews? This machine would generate codes to be tattooed on prisoners in Hitler's concentration camps. This man committed genocide by any standard, and IBM and the VA want to throw it in our face clear as day and name it after that monster. If this doesn't piss you off, I don't know what will. Hitler was so impressed with what Watson had done for the Third Reich that he awarded him with a special award, created specifically for the occasion, to honor extraordinary service by a foreigner. The medal was the Order of the German Eagle with Star, bedecked with swastikas, and was to be worn on a sash over Watson's cold, dead heart. Why do they want to put a machine in charge of your health, you might ask yourself? They do it so this pre-programmed evil robot can make the life or death decisions about you, the veteran, instead of the doctors that have received so much flack from the VA scandal over the last year. This helps take human emotions away and also allows the medical personnel to use Watson as a scapegoat should any problems arise, like death. Watson will be a new form of medical AI technology used to run the death panels already in place at the VA. How soon will it be until this technology moves over into civilian healthcare? Will you be a victim of Watson's wrath? This is also happening in another area of the government. They now want to replace humans that fly drones and make them fully autonomous. And many pilots were also claiming PTSD. Once you take the human aspect out of dealing with healthcare and war, things become even more evil. Who is going to check the morals of the men and women who program these machines? How do we know the machines will be told to act ethical and make the right decisions? Well, there you have it. That is the new Watson technology that's going to run the death panels at the already failing VA healthcare system. Now I have a vision of how this Watson technology will be implemented when you walk into the VA. Let's go in here and take a look.
Next.
What's going on?
All right, right arm. All right, Watson has determined you need to step in the medical chamber, so go ahead. Next.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
We're coming up to the 1-year anniversary of the Bundy Ranch standoff, and there we saw the power of the community come together and peacefully stand down an aggressive group of invaders, federal agents from the BLM. Thank you for joining us. It's been a long time since I've talked to you, about a year, I think.
Well, thanks for inviting me, and I don't know how long it's been, but I appreciate you having me back on, and it's always exciting to talk to American people, and, you know, even around the world, I've talked to a lot of people. I get excited.
Well, it is an exciting place, and I tell you, it was one of the most exciting things I've ever been part of or witnessing, to see people stand up against violence being done to their neighbors, and that was really how we got involved with that. We were very concerned about the reports we saw coming out of the area as it started building towards that standoff on a Saturday. And I thought it was really an inspiring thing to see the neighbors come together to support you, to get your cattle back. And now we want to talk about the land issue, because now that's back in front of the people again. There's been some movement in Utah at the end of the year. There was a bill that went into effect in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes, Utah had a law passed in the last session, which had been 2 years ago. It's supposed to come back or be in effect on January 1 of 2015. So that date is passed.
But of course, the federal government has ignored that, like they ignore so many different things. They ignore their own constitution. So you're trying to do something in Nevada, and 2 days ago you had a large group of people that went down to show their support of a bill that is being put forward by a state rep there. It's Michelle Fiore. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that bill.
Well, that bill is AB 408 is the bill number. Let me tell you a little bit about the excitement of 408. 408 went through a legislation committee and come out, without a number, and they give that bill a number, and within 4 days, it was the most popular bill in Nevada legislature.
Oh,
it had moved from 0 through 1,000 other bills to number 1. So that gives you an idea of the interest that was going on here. So this is the number 1 bill before the legislators. Yesterday they had that hearing on AB 408, and the media was very interested in it. There was, over 10 large cameras there, representing TV stations, things like this. A lot of media there,
Yeah, we covered it, and the LA Times covered it as well. They were spinning it as hard as they could. We'll talk about that in a little bit and give you a chance to set the record straight. But yeah, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about the bill and exactly what it would propose to do.
Well, what it is it's a bill strengthening Nevada law, and the way I like to explain it is, hey, it's bringing our Constitution, the state of Nevada, back to be constitutional. Mm-hmm. Our United States Constitution only allowed the federal government to have certain powers and certain things. One of the things our Constitution allowed the federal government to have is only 10 miles square of land, and then other lands that they needed for military bases. And those lands within these states, all that land that the federal government could have had to be approved by the legislators of the state and bought from the state, and for only a certain purpose.
Yes.
And now we have the federal government coming out here and claiming they own all of the public land, they own all of the resources, they have all of the policing power. Well, that's not so. And this bill was saying, hey, Mr. Government, or Mr. United States Government, you guys have no jurisdiction authority here. So now, bye-bye.
Absolutely. We've had Alex has talked to you several times in the last year, and we've talked to Ken Ivory from the American Lands Council, and he pointed out that they did this in eastern states. They did it in Florida, for example. It became a territory, then it became a state. They turned land back to the state. They turned it over to homesteading and various examples. And he argues, of course, that there's nothing that the federal government is doing that can't be done at the state level, and done better because it's closer to the people in terms of managing the land, in terms of keeping it available to the public, because the federal government is not doing a very good job of either of those things, making it available to the public or safeguarding it. When we look at things like the forest fires and that sort of thing, it could be done much better at the state level. And you also have the situation there that's going on in Arizona. Last year we were there covering it with the Cowboys, who were upset with you guys, who were upset about what the federal government was doing with Harry Reid, who is a Democrat, going to turn this over to his crony capitalist friends. Now this year, it's a Republican in Arizona who's going to turn it over to his corporate capitalist friends and taking it from the Indians. So this is going on in both directions.
Yeah, and the thing of it is this land should be ruled by we the people. Isn't that what our Constitution's all about? We the people, and for the people and by the people.
Yes, exactly.
And the people are not in Washington, D.C. The people are here in these sovereign states and then in these sovereign counties. And we the people are the ones that are trying to make our living, and we're trying to create our businesses, and we're trying to create a tax base for our schools and our county government. So we the people should be managing our resources, and that's what this bill also does. Is we're talking about not only land, we're talking about the resource. What about the resource? What about water and yes, minerals and timber and all of these kind of resources? Should we be governed by a central government, a king in Washington, D.C., and this army of bureaucrats? And not only that, are we going to be policed by their army as they come and try to police their power here at Bundy Ranch? Is exactly that what we're headed for?
Exactly. Even if we don't get into the abuse of power, even if we don't get into what was going on there at the Bundy Ranch just prior to the standoff where they got violent with people, as I was going to lunch today, I flipped on the radio and I listened to the BBC talking about water issues in Australia, comparing them to what's going on in California right now. The interesting thing I found, Mr. Bundy, was that they said that in Australia, the federal government there had been trying to manage water, and they had done an awful job. And they took that down to the different province levels or the states, whatever they call it in the Australian system. And they said that then they got the problem solved. You can't always solve the problems at the most distant place. And that's what really surprises me, is how many people think that you can't do it unless it's done in Washington, that it's going to cost too much money if it's done locally, that it can't be managed if it's done locally, but of course it can be done in Washington. And we look at the mismanagement, I just scratch my head and saying, what are you talking about?
That subject come up in the legislature hearing yesterday. Well, Nevada can't afford this.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the big government, in other words, the United States government's got to do the management. But there was a legislature that pointed out and said, well, if the federal government's doing such a good job, how come are we in $18 trillion in debt?
And that's just it.
The people still paying that bill?
That's just it. The federal government is not paying its bills. It's passing it on to future generations, and it's living lavishly. When we were there, we were just talking about this today, the fact that they